Meet sailing yacht Avanti and her crew, Gerard and Jacqueline. We left Cape Town in December 2021 on our floating home, heading west on an adventure of a lifetime around the world. Sadly, it's time to leave Chagos. The boat is ready, as ready as she's gonna get in Biot or Biot, whatever pronunciation you want to use. And I've cooked up a storm. We've got a few curries and lentil dishes. And it's time to leave.
The weather looks quite good. It's quite light for the next day or two, but that's good for us because we have to sail a little bit southwest first, so that we have a good angle to cross the top of Madagascar and to get through a gap in the Mascarene Plateau where it's quite shallow and the water is quite there's a lot of current and it's turbulent. So it's good for us if the southeast trades are not that strong in the beginning, and then they start filling in as we go ahead to the top of Madagascar, which can be quite rough. So we're hoping for a good passage. It should take us between 10 and 11 days to get there. 1,500 nautical miles approximately.
The new lures are ready. Hopefully we catch a nice mackerel or a mahi as we leave the pass. We're not fishing in the lagoon again because we had enough bonitos outside.
Yeah. No more tuna. We want mahi. Let's see.
Dolphins have come! We have really good conditions at the moment. Well, we've been sailing for about 24 hours and the sea state is just amazing. It's quite flat because of the bank that I think is protecting us from the swell. And the winds are light, but we're still making really good speed. So it's a really comfortable start to our last Indian Ocean big stretch, which is really a change of pace against the other two starts. Welcome back to the Indian Ocean! It's bucketing!
My watch is just finishing after quite a happy night. We had very confused seas, wind, 25 knots. Gandalf couldn't really cope with the sea, so a lot of manual steering and correcting. The washboards are up because some waves were breaking over the side and splashing into the cockpit. And we've even taken the bimini off as well. The wind was on the beam, so normally if it's very strong and on the beam, the bimini is not happy. Yeah, I'm not a happy camper this morning. Hopefully today is a better day.
We have a very good morning. Last night was a lot better as well. We could actually sleep. There were spells of very confused seas, but the wind stayed quite calm, if I can put it that way. And at the moment this swell is very small and far apart, so that's really nice. And it's finally time to put the bimini back up. It's a bit hot under the sun if we don't have any shade, but now that it's this calm, and it should stay this way, or at least won't have wind on the beam until we get closer to Madagascar, which is a couple of 100 miles away. So time to put back the bimini.
We are at last completely dried out after the torrential rain we've had and the very salty night we had as well. The weather's been much better, sea is much more organized, and we've managed to turn this morning more westerly, and the wind is almost dead from behind. So we've pulled out the Genoa on the port side and we're sailing wing on wing, so it's much more comfortable and we are much happier on board.
Oh, we're tired. It's been a very long night again. We had winds from all over, then we were on a run, then it's on the beam, then it wants to come from the other side, and it's all between rain clouds. So it was very wet and a lot of changing of sails. We were changing sails at least once every 45 minutes. It was absolutely madness. Because in between the rain clouds there's also no wind, then everything starts flapping and we can't have the flapping stress on the rigging that has the one strand broken, so we try and keep it as calm and controlled as possible. But another long night. Hopefully today brings some relief, because yesterday was such a nice day. It was Pacific sailing, but today is just, well, last night was just horrible. What do you think about last night?
Wet and wild. Yeah, I prefer not having this much rain. Just makes my mood gloomy.
And if the wet and crazy winds hasn't been enough, our bimini window actually tore. So another thing I need to fix once rested.
As part of this passage we have to cross what they call the Mascarene Plateau. It's like a shallower area in the sea, which is part of, it basically runs from Mauritius and Reunion up all the way up to Seychelles. And the water is quite turbulent because it gets to like 20 meters deep in the open ocean. So there's a few gaps in this plateau, and if you are sailing to the top of Madagascar, it's best advised to take the the gap that's at 12 degrees south. You can take gaps or sail around the north of the plateau completely, but then your angle of approach to the top of Madagascar is quite acute and you will sail potentially upwind. And the wind on the east coast of Madagascar is quite strong. The southeast trades turns a little bit more south in direction, and they call it a compression zone. It bunches up against the land. Yeah, we do expect strong winds, and we opted to go through the 12-degree gap so that our angle of approach is as favorable as possible. After we've gone through the gap, we will still try and make a little bit of southing as well to further improve our angle of approach. We've just gone through the Mascarene Plateau, and the wind is quite a little bit lighter than the forecast. The swell particularly is relatively organized. I don't know if that's because the plateau is blocking it a bit, but from here on I'm trying to make as much south as possible so that we can even get a better angle or a more improved angle for rounding the top of Madagascar, where the wind will be very strong. So I'm just sailing as much as possible so that we're not bashing into the waves. So the wind is on the beam at the moment at about 19 knots, and we're doing about 7.5 knots, so making good ground towards the south.
Next week we reach Madagascar after rounding the Cape of Amber. With crazy winds and big swell, it's not one to miss. Please leave us a like and subscribe to join the journey. Thank you to our Patreons for your contributions to our adventure, and we look forward to your comments below.